Welcome back to the Scope podcast. We've got a very special episode. One of my best mates. We've been hanging out so much this week. Needs no introduction. He's been on before. Kempy, thanks for coming in, brother.
Thanks for having me. It's always good to come on. And how long ago was it the last time I come on? It was quite a while. It's always
Origin 1 companion, footy companion.
So what's that, like 3 or 4 months now?
Yeah, so...
I've missed the space. The boys' fucking office. I've missed it.
The boys?
It feels fucking good to be here. The vibes are up. The arousal's high. I'm ready to go.
Speaking of arousals, a lot of people will be messaging me and getting aroused with these shirts that we're wearing. We both rocked up with the Monty today too. I think
you know what I rocked up to it because I was like, he's a Kiwi. Like I'm just showing a bit of respect. Yeah. But you're the host. I was showing respect for the Kiwi host.
And I was thinking the same thing. If I'm going to wear it, I've got to wear the Kiwi one out of the range.
Okay.
And I've had so many people hit me up, brother. So these shirts are going to fly, brother.
Well, just stay tuned. There's 4 people, but we'll announce what the concept is, but it's an ongoing concept, and it's born out of something that I feel has been lacking when it comes to giving fans what they want. Like I think we look at the NBA, we look at the NFL, and we wear shirts of Mike Tyson, of Jordan, of LeBron, and it's like for ages, and this has actually taken quite a while because all the players I got approval of, all the players receive percentage of the profit. It's taken fucking longer than I thought it would, but we're people too that have our own sports heroes that growing up, or even just sports people. We're like, fuck yeah, that's mad. Like how many times you see an NBA shirt and you're like, it's like an old school
that's the vintage
niche.
Ones.
You're like,
they're flying at the moment, the vintage.
Whereas like I'm like footy. I was like, we have our own sports stars. Why not put our own sports stars on shirts, and give them a percentage of the profit because it's their likeness. Which is it's interesting because like a lot of footy players don't actually know. They're not that schooled in business, so they don't understand, and they're not taught by the clubs. Definitely not taught by the clubs because they wouldn't want them to. But their likeness, like that's value. They own that. Like Monty Beethan, he owns his likeness. No one else owns that. Not the Warriors. Not anyone. He whatever is generated by using his likeness, he should get a part of that. And so yeah, we set all that up, and it was interesting. Like when I called them, they're like, yeah, bro, whatever. And what I felt like saying, I was like, bro, like. You should be like, yeah, you should be expecting this phone call if someone is going to use your likeness. But because we haven't really got educated. I was the same, bro. I didn't know nothing about it either.
Yeah, I wouldn't know if same thing, you get that call.
Yeah, that call, you'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. And when I say to them, you're getting a percentage of the profit. Not that they're shocked, but they're just like, oh, okay, sweet.
You can even though you're on the phone, you could probably hear their fucking ticking over.
Whereas they should be expecting that. Anyway, so yeah, this is going to be a series. It's called the Iconic Bloke Series.
Yeah.
And so basically it's an athlete, an Australian or New Zealander, Kiwi athlete, or anyone within Polynesian as well, Tongan, Samoan, anyone within kind of our, we may go further, but I really want to focus on where people from where we're from, what they like. So anyone that's been an icon in Australian sport or has had an iconic moment. So you've seen the Marty Lang one, like he's iconic for that run it straight. Like, you wouldn't say he's like a Kathy Freeman, but he is in folklore of rugby league. Monty Beethan, like he's not like an immortal, but for feeding blokes, like everyone remembers.
Yeah, everyone knows you don't fuck with Monty.
100%. Even when I was playing, like he was the boogeyman. You say Monty, he was honestly. Remember growing up, like he was the boogeyman. Yeah. Like especially that pack in New Zealand, like they were scary. You got like the wingers, like literally nearly ending careers jamming in. So, and we've got Alfie Langer and we've got Terry Lamb. So I can't wait to drop it.
And just before we move on, has it been easier doing it with the retired players more so than current players? Would there be any more hurdles if you try to get current players on shirts like this?
I want to do retired players because of that nostalgic feel, but also I just don't want to create issues between players and clubs. So a lot of the time, like clubs will say to players, "Oh, you can't do that," and technically the club isn't allowed to do that, but it's more about just keeping that good working relationship. So eventually we'll do current players. But at the moment, it's more about, it's called the Iconic Bloke Series. So no players.
It's vintage feel. It deserves to be old out.
Whereas like we could do players towards the end of their career, or we could do say Latrell because that's pretty iconic. That's iconic. Yeah. He hasn't cemented himself as an iconic player yet, in my opinion. Like he's fucking incredible. Yep. We could do Greg Inglis if you wanted to do it. Getting onto him would be the hard thing. I mean, I'd love to do GI. Could you imagine the go on the front of this?
Have you had GI on before?
No, I haven't. I've tried to.
That'd be a big one.
Mate, I've tried to. That would be, right, that'd be hectic. But we're going to focus mainly on even like slightly niche players as well. Because like how many times we celebrate the immortals and that, which is sick. Like, fuck, no, I do it as well. But how many times do we have, like, memories of, say, Dallas Johnson or something like that? Some kind of player that really...
that was so respected around the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like, Steve Renoff, even though he's really well respected, but so many people remember the Pearl. Like, imagine him with a headgear on this shirt, So we're going to focus on that initially, but it's going to have its life its own. Eventually, we want to get it to a point where we really do, like, big drop announcements. Like, we really, like, make it huge, like, and people are waiting on, like, who's going to be the next iconic bloke, like, who's going to be or Sheila or whatever. For example, I'd love to do, could you imagine iconic, you'd have to say iconic babe, I guess, and put Kathy Freeman on the front. It'd be hectic. And so, yeah, that's a plan.
Well, they're going to fly off, mate. All the DMs that I've been getting from wearing, I wore the Alfie one the other day, and mate,
he's perfect for it too.
I honestly changed the settings in my DMs.
Really?
The next day, because I got hammered that much about it. So, fuck, bro, they're going to kill it.
Sorry and thank you.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm grateful because you gave me one of each for free. And
you know what? People, this is how much I love the scope. I gave him my last Alfie Langer shirt. So I don't actually have an Alfie Langer shirt anymore. He has the Alfie Langer shirt.
And moving on to that part of the way I start my podcast now, when we have a bit of a chat and introduce you, I start with the grateful. Is there anything you're grateful for today or this week, brother?
Cameron Smith's beard and Cam Murray.
What part of Cam Murray? Because you said Cameron Smith's beard. So everything Cam Murray or?
Well, Cameron Smith's beard and Cam Murray, two separate things. Cameron Smith's beard, if that doesn't epitomise, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all, then I don't know what does. Because I feel like, yes, I am heartbroken that it is no longer there, but to experience one of the most aggressive beards in rugby league history on one of the greatest players, if not the greatest players of all time, I'm grateful. I love the conversation you had with him too when you had it on and you spoke about it. He's such a fucking, like, it makes you love him even more, eh? Like, when you get on these platforms and they can have a conversation about something like that and like take it on well and said he enjoyed it all. And the fact that he had seen, because like each week in my team of the week, I would Photoshop Cameron Smith's beard onto whoever made the 9 roll. That's right. And he had seen that. And Cam Murray, I mean, think about it. For Cam Murray to exist, it's 1,000,000 to 1. For him to win that race of sperm, there's 7 billion people in the world, and then times that to the power of 1 billion. There's 1 billion. Let's say everyone's got 1 billion sperm or whatever the number is. For him to win that race and be born, we should all be grateful. His existence makes this world a better place, and it makes me more aroused every day.
Arousal levels, I love that too. I'll go on to my grateful. This is considering what we're doing, to have you in the building, and I've never really put these guys on my grateful. I'm going to say the YKTR boys, because we're now. This is YKTR Sports. This is a Scope podcast, and I've never sat down and said, I'm grateful for Chico, Normie and Ice. For us to have this platform, for me to get to know you, and we're going back and forth on each other's podcasts. So it all wouldn't happen without those three boys.
I walked here today and I was like, beautiful day. And I'm walking to my mate's very successful clothing company business, his sports network. That's grateful.
That is grateful.
That is very grateful. We could be, digging ditches somewhere with no hope in hell. But I'm in the boys' fucking studio talking about another bloke's attractiveness. It's great.
Love that. Hit the intro, baby.
Tell me what you need and need us. Tell me what you want and want us.
You always get you dancing as well. Luke is always dancing in the background. This is where I do my best work, baby. Shit. We need to get a camera for you.
He's literally the whitest person here too.
Yeah. What about you? Any dance moves that Kemp?
I'm probably the best dancer I know.
Yeah.
I don't dance often, but when I do,
you're saving it for the right occasion.
It stops the clubs. Put it that way. My missus has put a ban on me dancing because it gets too many chicks. That's how good of a dancer I am.
That's a perfect segue going into my first part of it. Stopping clubs. Titans cap. Okay. So the news has come out today. Titans could be in a bit of drama. I don't know if you've heard anything about this. Do you know? You feel like you're there.
Well, I was the guy that paid the person off. And I can confirm that
that's where you do your best work. Gold Coast, Brisbane, up in that area.
I was the one that handed the paper bag over, but it wasn't illegal. Look, this is a mountain. In my opinion, this is a mountain out of a molehill. Like, it's 10 grand. Like, look, if they did or didn't pay the person off, like, did that make Dave Fafita stay at the club or sign? You know what I mean? Like, he was already at the club. It wasn't like, if you don't pay them 10 grand, I'm not staying at the club. And the salary cap is made to like stop people coming to the club by paying them overs under the table. So like, yes, if it was illegal, I don't know. It's all alleged and rah. But like, it doesn't affect their squad. It wasn't the reason he came to the club. Like he didn't sign the thing and say, look, if I ever get into trouble, you're going to pay people money to like whatever. So look, slap on the wrist, whatever they get. But I think people that are making a big deal out of it, it's like it hasn't affected their squad. It's made no difference to him coming to the club or leaving the club. Was it shady? Was it dodgy? Obviously. Should they get in trouble for it? Obviously. But like, again, it wasn't the reason he came to the club, and it's not why he stayed at the club.
Yeah. We've been around long enough. We've known there have been stories around there way worse than what's going on. Plus, we're about to get to that. We're about to get to my predictions, and I've put money on for a top 4. I don't need this shit at the start of the year too. I'm not thinking about the Titans. I'm thinking about me.
Like point stripped.
Fuck the Titans. Come on, baby. I want to be right.
It's so true that way. When you're sitting there like and you got money on a game, and it really is just about you.
Yeah,
like you're really just stinging for you.
I had a little bit of a wager on the Indigenous game too versus the Maoris, and the last 5 minutes, because I needed the Maoris to win. I still got a payout. I got the collect because I got Pretty Ricky to score.
Pretty Ricky, baby.
I had Dell to score as well. And then I just needed the Maoris to hang on.
Yeah.
And in that last couple of minutes, I took every error personally. And geez, the boys copped the spray. The boys.
The fucking boys.
Lucky there wasn't a camera on me there, because I always try to be grateful and positive, but
was it
there was a lot of negativity coming out of my mouth in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Like putting money, like I don't bet that much, but when I do, it changes everything for me. Like I can't just, my anxiety goes up, like everything changes. Yeah. It's a totally different experience. And there's a side of you, put it this way, the bad side of scope comes out. The devil's side, the side that you try to keep down here, you open Pandora's box a little bit, but then you shove him back down with a few gratefuls.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get the gratefuls in there.
Don't let him all the way out, because you don't know what's going to happen.
But even aside from that, like I said on your podcast, I get really passionate about this game. This is one of my favourite games of the year now, and it was more, the money was the side of it, but that New Zealand Maori, I really want them. I love the respect that both teams have got for each other. I just saw in the game in particular, we didn't get a chance to speak about it too much. I think it's becoming, it has the potential to grow into something really, really, really big. I know that being a New Zealand Maori myself and the Indigenous people have really bought into it. I think the casual fan is really coming over.
Yep.
It did hurt us with the Melbourne Storm players pulling out.
That hurt.
I thought the casual fan was a little bit disappointed that those players weren't playing, but it's gone from strength to strength in the last 3 years. It's been really competitive. I think everyone loves, obviously, the huckers and the tribal dance at the start.
No, I think it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. I always thought the initial All-Stars concept, there was something missing, because you had one people literally playing for their culture, like everything that they exist for, they're playing for. And you got other guys that, although they're playing hard, it's kind of like, a bit of fun. A bit of fun. Whereas I love the concept. And I think that, we can take it further where, maybe we do get Samoa and Tonga in there. We get Fiji and PNG in there, because obviously they're the majority in their countries. They're Indigenous to their land. So it is, it's still Indigenous culture. So, I think I would actually love to see, now it's good that it's at the start of the year. I'm not saying that we should change it and it's bad or whatever, but if there was, if we aren't going to put Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, PNG, because I always want to do, we block off Origin and we just take 4 weeks off of normal footy and we have Polynesian games. Now, if we aren't going to have that, then I think we should put Samoa, Tonga, the Indigenous All-Stars and all that, we should put that on the All-Stars weekend or the same day. So make it like a carnival kind of vibe where that's the day where, you can watch Samoa and Tonga, then you can watch the Māoris versus, just quietly.
Like a magic round?
A magic round.
Suncorp, like we got
but
2 or 3.
It's just Indigenous.
Yeah,
just Indigenous. Yep. But just quickly before I forget, I know I don't say it the best, but how bad were they saying the word Māori? Yeah. They were like Maori, like Māori. It's just like, what is doing? Surely someone said to them, don't say, just call it like Māori. That's what it is, Māori.
Someone does it really well. Does Vossi do it really well?
No, I think he says Maori.
Does he say Maori?
I think even there were people where I was surprised. I was like, surely that. Anyway, neither here nor there. But I think that you make it like an Indigenous day, and it kicks off the year, and you have Samoa, Tonga, the All Stars. You have Fiji, PNG.
I think they're the main ones, really. Cook Islands could probably be involved in.
Yeah.
I think Cook Islands, they've got a few players that play like a very close, like New Zealand Maori.
Yeah.
There are a lot that could play
Yeah.
Cook Islands, Samoa, New Zealand Maori.
Well, I think like a lot of people are like, well, what about the Cook Islands? And like, it's no disrespect to them, but you can only put on what you can put on. You know what I mean? There's only so many things that are financially viable, and like, who is Cook Island's rival? I don't want to disrespect any Cook Island people.
I think it'd be New Zealand Maori would be the closest, to be fair, bro.
So
but like,
they're against the Indigenous.
You take it on the Indigenous. And
whereas like Samoa and Tonga, Fiji and PNG, like they have a history, especially Samoa and Tonga, massive history.
Yeah.
I just think like an Indigenous All-Star Day and like the whole thing is about celebrating the concept.
Or even a weekend.
A weekend. Yeah.
And you back to back.
You just go like Friday, Saturday or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that would be a real good opportunity for those nations, the second tier nations, even though Tonga's a first tier nation now, to play more international games. And like, why not? They're not doing anything else. They're just doing a trial match or they're just training. So I think it's a good opportunity to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Another point that you brought up, you had a little write-up on the future of Ren Diggity at the Reynolds and potentially struggling with negotiations. I loved that you put it up and about the long-serving player allowance. I know there is one.
So I think it's like 200K or whatever, but it's not just like that. 200K isn't dedicated to just like someone that's been there 10 years. There's like all these different things. Like if you've been at the club for like 7 years, if you've been at a top 25 squad for like 7 years at that club or whatever. So a lot of people go, well, it's 200K, but 200K gets split. Let's say it gets split between 3 players because that's what they would do. They would use it between 3 of their guys that have been there for a while.
Yeah.
Like even Cody Walker would probably qualify for it now. 200K gets split very, very quickly. And also the minimum wage now is 100K. So, let's say, for example, Adam Reynolds' situation, his is more about the contract length. But that's where I think that the issue is like, how do you make it so that you can get these guys to sign 2-3 year contracts instead of a 1 year contract with some kind of loyalty clause where, look, you don't have to play them in first grade, but just to have them at the club so that they don't bounce somewhere else. Because at the moment, how often do we see players having to leave? Like I know for a fact, like
you look
Alex,
at some of the Penrith players that have had to move on recently.
Josh Mansell, Alex Glenn, I know for a fact he has taken years and years and years. His whole career, he's been on unders. Even when there was a period there where
Steve Maddow for us at Manly, big time.
Yeah, big time. Like even at Hazem Al Mazra in the podcast recently, they all took unders for a bit to stay together and win the premiership. Now a lot of people will be like, well, that's how you win a premiership, this, that, and the next thing. And it's like, yeah, but okay, if you want the player to show loyalty, when does the club show loyalty? And then some people will say, well, if they get injured or play poorly, they still pay them the same amount of contract. And it's like, well, they got injured playing for the club. They wouldn't have been injured if they weren't playing. It's like being injured at work. Like it's like saying that your employee shouldn't pay you because you were doing work and something fell on you or whatever. Of course you should be paid. You were at work and that's why you got injured. And also form dipping up and down, like you can't control form. Like a lot of players, I know that the general narrative is basically like, as soon as a player starts playing well, he starts demanding more money. Like we see players all the time, like Payne Haas, Victor Radley, all of these guys are on Payne Haas is on like 500K a year. He's easy $1 million front rower. He hasn't complained. He hasn't gone out and asked for a bigger contract. Victor Radley, he's on fuck all. He signed 2 years ago on a 4-year deal. He's a $750,000 player. Easy.
I think my guy going to talk about the Titans, Tino, who I'm obviously talking about in being a snack. I think he signed at a nice time for the Titans as well, just before he sort of kicked on. I feel like he's going to be unders on the way he performed in Origin in that final series. He's going to be. It's sort of like the package of him and Fafita together is a really nice package now 100%. Because of the price tag that he got.
But like the problem, the point I'm trying to make is like, okay, so Tino signed way before he got bigger, so he'd be on unders right now, and yet he'll go on and he'll finish that contract, and no one's going to talk about how Tino was one of the best forwards in the game and didn't ask for more money. But the general narrative is players always turn around and go, as soon as they start playing well, they ask for more money. But that's just not true. Players play mad all the time and don't ask for more money. So people that the argument that like, clubs are loyal to players because they keep paying them a certain amount, even if they're playing bad. It's like players are loyal to clubs too. They keep playing for the same amount when they're playing good. And that's where I do feel like the loyalty, it needs to go both ways. But at the moment, the loyalty is always usually 90% of the time, it's player to club, not club to player. And I think that if we incentivize, say to clubs, look, if you be loyal, we will give you something for it. That will create more loyalty between clubs and players, and also it creates a better connection to fans. Like, the whole reason why NRL is good is because fans are loyal to their team. The longer a team can stick together, the more loyal a fan is going to be to that team.
Well, exactly. Well, one of the points that I was going to bring up is something that I really like from the Super League is the testimonial. So once you get to 10 years at a club.
Lexi's doing one of them. If you're listening and you're in Brisbane, Lexi's doing a testimonial. I think it's at Redcliffe, but check on that. Make sure to go down. I promise you guys, I know for a fact Alex Len has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars being loyal to the Brisbane Broncos.
Beautiful. And I was supposed to have Lexi on this today, but him and Jordan Ricky were supposed to come on.
Oh, that's a good-looking podcast.
But they're doing stuff with disabled kids after Captain's Run.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
If that's not like a good reason to miss a podcast and go and support Lexi.
That's what that frustrates me as well. It's like, if you
but no one would have heard about that.
Exactly. If you ever have don't get me wrong, NRL players do stupid stuff. And they should 100% be punished for it. Like 1,000,000%. Because as we said on my podcast, when an NRL player fucks up, it hurts me, it hurts you, it hurts our whole community. It makes me look bad, makes you look bad. So if you fuck up and you do the wrong thing, you should be punished. But if you sit there and say, oh, NRL players have it easy, or they're fucking this or that, and you want to hate them, ask yourself, how many of your mates went and helped disabled kids yesterday? How many of your mates finished work, because that's what he's doing, Captain's Run, and went and helped disabled kids and didn't tell anyone? If it's zero, which it probably is, then you should probably reserve judgment on some of these boys 100%. When they do stuff up.
And the part on the testimonial part, obviously, like I mentioned, so people that don't know, if you're a long-serving player over in the Super League, you play 10 years at the one club, you get rewarded with a game. It's normally a trial game at the start of the year. And you know what the best thing about it? If you've been around for 10 years, you're going to be liked. But it depends on how well you've served the club, how well the fans appreciate you for them to turn up to a trial games. Because trial games, there's no cameras, and generally, or especially over there, there's no cameras watching it. So the fans respect those players for what they've done, and they're happy to give their hard-earned, knowing that it's going to go to the player. Yep. And then that can be a big reason between a 30 to 33-year-old guy who's thinking about retiring, like maybe early getting pushed out because there's some young kids coming through, or potentially having to go to another team. So,
I think it's a great idea.
I think there's nothing but positives in that. And I think it's seriously something that the NRL should look at doing.
Even if every year there is a testimonial game, and that whatever profits are made, they go to some player, they put it so every year a club has to put a testimonial match on or something along those lines.
It's even grouse when sometimes, so for instance, one of my good mates, Danny Kermond, we played against Hull in the same game because he had another guy he was really good mates with at Hull FC, I forgot his name, escapes him, but they played together at Wakey early on, and then they both had a joint game, and they split the profit between them. And it was for a trial game, I think we had something like 10,000 there for a trial game at Wakey in the end of winter, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That shows how much respect that the fans had for those two players.
It's good for the club too. You got a 10,000 turnout.
Danny Washburn, I think his name is Danny Washburn or something like that. I think played at Wakey. So, some good chat, mate. But let's move on to the reason we're here. We're going to do a NRL sort of preview prediction sort of show. I'm going to work our way back down. We're going to nominate a player each that we think is going to be really important for the team. And we're going to start at 16. We're going to start at your boys.
The boys?
Your boys up from the Bronco boys. Did I do that good?
No, you got it. You nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. You have permission to say that word now.
Go. Well, you can use shit, baby, or whatever.
Okay, sweet.
The Broncos, mate. Breaking them down. Who you looking for to have a big season for them?
Pretty Ricky's obviously right up there. Yes, he is a very good-looking man, but he's also a fucking gun player. So I think that he is someone that absolutely will have a breakout year if he stays injury-free. I think Reece Walsh he may not play all season, but I think by the end of the year he will have broken into first grade. He's very impressive. He's been one of their best trial match players. He's a fullback. He's a smaller guy.
Yep.
Good passing game, very nippy, great footwork. So I think that he'll break his. I said probably, I think it was 2 years ago, or probably a year and a half ago. I think he's actually going to be Darius's long-term replacement. Because I did a highlights reaction for him.
And you like that other young kid,
Tessie
New as well, don't you?
Yeah, so he seems more like a centre winger.
Okay.
Apparently, by reports, he struggled a little bit in the trial in centre, so that's going to take some time. Again, he's really young, but it seems like he is more suited to centre wing rather than fullback. Again, you just don't know. He could turn out to be incredible. They got Osako at fullback. Osako has had a few years at fullback. Like, he's had opportunity. So this is really his year to. It's the fullback position is his. That's what Walters has basically said. So this is Osako's year to really show that potential that we've seen incredible glimpses from. Like the year before on the wing, he was really good. I personally see him more as a winger. I think he's a really good winger. But the issue for Osako is he's gone through a lot of shit off the field. So last season was so tough for him. He lost his father, I'm pretty sure. Obviously dealing with, like, not only losing his father, but dealing with everything that happened at the Broncos. So I hope he does bounce back, because the year before, he was fucking great.
They've got so many likeable characters in that team, man. It's hard to watch sometimes. Like, as a ex-player, you being an ex-Bronco, to see some of those guys through some of the emotions that they had, with Lexi consoling Brady Croft and whatnot, and then people coming after him, and it was tough, it was hard to watch, man.
They felt, obviously.
Oh, that's all right.
You've got the Siri name on so that you can know whether you're going to brush them or not straight away.
That's the old boy too, and even he gets brushed. I'm going to get him on the podcast too. He's a Parramatta legend. Continue to put that on silent.
It was tough. But at the same time, you put that jersey on and you need to deliver. It's the Broncos, man. Like, that's I think somewhere along the line, not for guys like Lexi understands, but somewhere along the line, I think we stopped appreciating what it meant to put that jersey on and how lucky you were to put that jersey on. And I know every club says that, but in the last 25 years, Broncos has been, since its inception, Broncos has been one of the most dominant clubs in the NRL. Obviously, the last few years it hasn't been, but
they still made the 8 the year before, didn't they? Then
they
got
scraped
smacked,
in, but it
was
they shouldn't have made the 8. Yeah. It was one of the, they definitely should. It was actually just because everyone else went so poorly. I think they actually lost more games than they won, and they made the 8.
Right. We talked about that at the start of the year.
So, I mean, that's what I said last year. Like, a lot of people, it masked how poor last year was. It masked how poor that first year, with the coaching change actually was, because they made the 8. So I was like, oh yeah, we made the 8. So it was just teething errors. But when you actually look at the differential, you look at they lost more games than they won. Like, that was a shocking year for us, and obviously this year it just got worse. But yeah, so look. It definitely hurt me to see the boys like that, but at the end of the day, not that they deserve to feel that pain. I'm not saying that at all, but I hope they're hurting, because if they're not hurting, then they shouldn't be in that jersey. And also, it makes them realise how much pressure it comes to be a Bronco, and what level you need to be at is to be a Bronco. Now, I don't think it was actually their fault that the Broncos were in that position last year. I think it was decisions made above them that really hurt them. I think because
there's a lot of talent in there. One of the guys that I spotlighted is Xavier Coates. I think he's going to be a superstar.
Yeah, but even Xavier Coates, in years past, he wouldn't have made his debut yet. Like, a lot of these guys, they need more time to develop, and that's why I'm saying it's not their fault. Like, a lot of those players in years past with a stronger squad and more experience, they would just be training with first grade, getting the reps. But some of those guys were coming in, and they were so young and new, like that. They weren't ready. They just weren't ready. And that's not their fault. Like, that's the fault of people moving too much experience on and choosing that top 30. The players can only do what they do. Like, when you get out there and half your team is I think the average age was 23, and your captain is 21, what do you expect is going to happen in the NRL? Teams are just going to, and you're wearing a Broncos jersey, so all people are always going to turn up against you. So I think very unfortunate. I don't think they'll make the 8 this year. I think we're going to be recovering for quite a while from some pretty seismic decisions that I don't think were the best decisions, that had nothing to do with the players and had more to do with decisions up top. But I do think we've taken the right step towards building. But the problem is we barely recruited. Who did we recruit? Who's a big recruit for us? You know anyone, Lukey? Big recruit for the Broncos. Name one. A big recruit.
I can't. I can't even think of a player that they've bought. Who have they bought?
They've bought Albert Kelly, who's
Albie,
yeah, but he's
I know what you mean by that.
But he wasn't.
No disrespect to Albie.
Yeah, no disrespect. But even in the trials, he didn't go great. They bought
I'm literally Asiata.
But again,
he's nice, but he's He's been a bit rough around the edges the last kind of couple of years.
If that's your biggest signing, and again, that's no disrespect to Asiata, he actually is fucking incredibly skillful and a gun. But this is the Brisbane
in the
Broncos.
right system, man. He was really nice up
Absolutely,
there.
but this is the Brisbane. That's our biggest signing. When you got like clubs like the Doggies and that signing like Kotrick, signing fucking Matt Burton's, you know what I mean? And so I think no expectations should be laid on the Broncos. I think that they're probably going to finish around 10th or 12th, and I think that is good for how young they are. But at the same time, this constant talk about young side, this, that, and the next thing, like, I don't want to hear it. Like, I think that you look at the Penrith, they were the second youngest team in the comp last year, and they were only averaged a year older than the Broncos, and they fucking were the best side in the comp for most of the year. So, like, I hope Kevy, and I'm pretty sure he will be, is like, guys, I don't give a fuck how old you are. Like, let's get all these excuses out of our heads.
Yep.
If you cross that white line, you're a Bronco and it doesn't matter. And that's what it used to be like, and I think that I think we're taking the steps in the right direction, but I do think it's going to take a couple years to get the squad that Kevy needs, and then we'll see from there.
I agree. I don't have them making the 8. And you mentioned them just before, the Bulldogs. Let's move on to them.
I think the Bulldogs are making all the right calls. Now, it's Trent Barrett's already paid for his contract because of the names he's attracted to the club. So, like, you could literally sack Trent Barrett tomorrow and he's done his job because he brought all these big names to the club. Now the question is what is Trent Barrett like as a coach rather than a recruiter? Struggled a bit at Manly, but went to Penrith and apparently is a huge reason for why they went so well. So I think that he's going to be better, but it's going to be, that's the question now. The question is, look, he's paid his wage. He got all these hectic, got Adokar, got Burton, got Kotrick, got Flanagan, like, so.
Corey Allen, did you mention him?
Corey Allen, yep. So, like, he's got decent signings.
Hetherington,
yep. And he was actually really good for the Warriors.
I think he's going to be low-key sneaky.
Yeah, I think
nice
so.
For him, man.
I think so. He's a beast. Yeah. Loves it.
He loves it,
So I think that now the question is, like, how does Barrett go in his second attempt at coaching an NRL side? And I think he's going to go better, but I think they're still 2 to 3 years away. I think they'll probably hover around 8th to 10th. But he's, as I said, he's already paid his wage, in my opinion. I think he's already put them in a better position than where they were, 12 months ago.
Well, I know people from, obviously, Manly is a big one. I used to spend a little bit of time. He knows Baz well as well. Everyone that I speak to that's been coached by Baz loves him.
Okay.
And so I think that's why, sometimes him being an assistant coach really suits him, the way that he developed Cleary's game, where he took it to another level, the way Jerome Lau come on at the end of the year. Cherry loves him. You got to think, remember we were talking about on the potty about Cherry's progression over the last 3-4 years. He goes that he speaks highly of Trent Barrett during that period. Okay. He gave him a lot of confidence. He gave him he put the C next to his name. He told him he was his team. So he's got a knack for really developing, especially in the halves in particular. So I'm looking forward to seeing how our guy Kyle Flanagan goes. Yep. He's talking about him being under pressure. I think he goes to a really nice situation. We had a joke about it.
I got fucking pumped for that call.
I seen him up on the way up to Byron, and we had a chat about it at the airport and had a giggle. So he seems like a real.
Right, I was sitting right here when that happened. I think. I got paid. It was like, what the fuck, Kempy? Yeah. This is the fucking easiest club in the fucking NRL.
But anyway, he took it well. Yeah. And mate, don't worry, there's no confidence lost in that kid. He's I've heard he's a confident kid. Mate, he's ready to go. Yep. He's excited about the new challenge. I made him my scope spotlight. But I'm really, I think, like you said, Baz is going to be really important to not only develop the halves and get people to like him, because from what I'm told, everyone loves him. Now with his second stint, he has to get everything. Like everything has to work around
Absolutely.
him. Like he's renowned for being an attacking coach as well. The defense has got to be solid. That 2 or 3 years ago when Manly made the finals, they had a really good attack, but the defense was still a little bit leaky as well. So just getting that complete buy-in in both sides of the game.
It's like we always see like people in. I think we spoke about it on last podcast, but like people in positions of authority, we always think that like they aren't people too, that they don't progress, they don't improve. Like Craig Bellamy, for example, like you look at him and you're like, he's this mythical person, but he's a human being too that's trying to improve what he's doing. And so I think Trent Barrett is going to be way better for it, having gone through the Manly situation, got his confidence back at Penrith. But it's, as you said, it's not a much easier job, but it is an easier job to be the assistant coach because you don't have to make the tough calls. You're always bringing the good news. You never bring in the bad news, whereas the head coach is bringing the shit news. And so it is going to be interesting. If he can sort the defense out, because clearly his attack is sweet. Like, he knows how to make a team attack. If he can get good defensive people around him, then absolutely he'll have a big year.
And he's made, like I said, he's made some good decisions with a couple of rough nuts and getting that Hetherington and a few of these guys in the pack. One thing I thought when I watched the games last year, because I used to always sort of try to watch how Fozzie was going, being a good mate of his, they competed fucking so hard on every game.
Yeah, oh man, it was crazy.
But they just didn't have the experience and the talent. Like,
totally.
You could never go away from watching teams. You could see when they'd come off the field and go, "Fuck, that was harder than what I wanted it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he can put a little bit of class on that, keep that same energy. I think the Bulldogs. I'm the same as you. I don't have them in the 8, but I have them sniffing around. And
it's like the Kalen Ponga effect. Like, people might say, "Oh, they've recruited too back heavy." And maybe they have, technically, but it's actually not about that. It's about getting big names to your club so you can get other big names to your club.
And it instills confidence in a lot of the players around when you have some of those marquee players.
Absolutely. So it's about the 5-year plan. It's not about like, oh, they didn't recruit fucking the best halfback and the best front row on this. It's about saying, okay, we recruit these big names, then we can go to Payne Haas or whoever, a young gun that's coming through that's a forward or whatever, and say, look at these boys here. Whereas if you don't recruit them, how do you recruit? Look at the West Tigers still struggling to recruit. The Broncos, they're struggling to recruit, which is fucking crazy to say. You have to get people. Sometimes you have to get people that you might have a surplus in outside backs, but now everyone's talking about the Doggies. Everyone's like, oh, they're on the fucking rise. Whereas if you don't buy them and you just stick with what you've got because there's nothing on the market, it's hard to recruit. Whereas the Doggies are in a position now where if they just finish around the 8 this year, they can recruit big again next year.
And they've already recruited and they could go again.
Look, okay.
I wonder if Tino goes to Titans if Fafita doesn't sign before him. That's a decent question, you know.
That's true. Look at the Knights. So they brought in Kalen Ponga. They got Mitchell Pearce. Their signing last year was Tyson Frizzell, a current Origin. You think Tyson Frizzell signing there 5 years ago? No one was signing there, but they get that one superstar that's untested, but he's still a superstar. He's still enough to go to anyone and say, we got this young kid that could be anything, come to our club. And then it's snowball effect. Now the Knights have like 5 Origin players, you know? So it's all about like, it's about a 5-year plan. It's not about just fucking, the next 12 months, next 12 months, next 12 months. It's about building towards something. And I think the Doggies are doing that.
Yeah, I agree, mate. The Cowboys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough year for them. I think for so many years we looked at their squad and we were like, man, their fullback's gun. But I do think that Payton's the perfect coach for them. I think he was the right buy. I think that what he was able to do with the Warriors was pretty incredible last year. And he seems like a very tough, no-nonsense guy, but also someone that is still relatively close to having retired, so he's got a closer connection to NRL players. I think that with the Cowboys moving Paul Green on, it wasn't anyone's fault. I just think it was the end of the road.
Just run its task.
Just the end of the road.
Run its. That's not right, but yeah, go on.
Run its fucking.
Run its course. Run its course. Thanks, Luke.
The CTE here, no CTE. And so I think that it was just time for it to happen. I think that they've still got the roster, but it all really hinges on what Michael Morgan we're going to get. Look. A year ago, or even a year and a half ago, I was like, Michael Morgan's just behind Munster as the most valuable player in the competition. He's had a rough year and a half, but if he comes out and plays like he did in 2017, he's the best 7 in the game again, in my opinion, when he's fucking killing it. When he's on. Like, if you go back, watch his 2017 form, obviously Cleary's younger, so Cleary's, the next kid up, but I'm just talking about pure form. Like, we forget, Michael Morgan was like a super sub during Queensland's most dominant period ever. Like, he was coming on and impacting in a team full of immortals.
And they couldn't leave him out.
It's not
like they could leave him out. So they had to almost made that position just to accommodate, to get him in the team.
Absolutely. So, like, we forget, Michael Morgan is a gun. I know he hasn't had the best year or whatever, but that's why the Cowboys are such a swing team, because like they can be, if he struggles, they're all going to struggle. If he goes really well, all of a sudden we look at 2017 where they were missing all their best players and they fucking make the grand final. So I just think that they're probably the biggest swing side in the competition. They're the side where you could be sitting there going, in 8 months' time going, fuck, man, the Cowboys looking mad. Josh Maguire, gun, played their best player all year last year. Scott Drinkwalker, cuts a gun, just needs to get rid of a few errors. But he's also fucking, if him and Michael Morgan can click, they're as good as any half. Tell me a half pairing that is leaps and bounds better than them. They're just as good as Cleary and Luai
Cleary and
if they click.
Jerome.
You telling me that Scott Drinkwater at his best isn't in the
I'm
same?
trying to look at the teams and just like have a think. Oh, Dill and Moses. I'm going to talk about them for the Eels. Probably
Morgan's done more than Moses.
Munster and Jerome.
Morgan's done just as much as Munster, but I would put Munster ahead at the moment because
Kiri's, it's unsure of who's going to be with Kiri long term there.
But that's what I'm saying. Like Morgan and Scott Drinkwater are in the conversation. Like fair enough if you think Cleary and Jerome are better. Like fair enough, I'll call that. But what I'm saying is they're not miles better. Michael Morgan is a Queensland Origin winning, grand final winning half that's still only, I think he's like 30, so he's not that old yet. So if he does fire, Scott Drinkwater, he's a gun. He is a gun. He can have just as big a year this year as Luai had last year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they're a swing side. I don't think they will swing. I mean, Peyton could do it, but they're my biggest like smoky of like they could be terrible or they could be fucking unbelievable.
I believe that they're a smoky purely for the fact that Todd Payten, and from everything that I've heard about Todd Payten from guys within the Warriors, caught up with Petahiku in the off-season, was raving about him. Finchy doesn't stop. Finchy's talked about him as not only, a mate, an ex-teammate, but a really good coach, spending some time with him. Val Holmes is a big one for me.
So he's starting on the wing this week, and Drinkwater's at the back.
Drinkwater's at the back.
Yeah, pretty sure. Or is it Hamiso?
It's.
Could you check that for us?
I did a scope spotlight again that we're going to mention some of the stuff that I talk about on the website, but I think I'm gonna put it down to, when a player comes back from a serious injury, I think when you have that sort of timeout, even, Hainsey was sort of the same way, you can't help but think that's going to have an effect in the first 12 months.
Yep.
So I'm putting it down to that. I still think you got to think before he went away, Val Holmes is one of...
So Scott Drinkwater's won that fullback race. Val Holmes on the wing.
Well, there you go. And you know what? When you're a new coach, you don't fuck around with selection and put people in positions where you think, I'm testing it. So that's a pretty fair indication.
That's the thing.
But in saying that, Val Holmes was the best winger in the comp before he left. Like,
100%.
He was playing fullback, played it really well. But I felt like he did his best work for Australia and Queensland when he was on the wing.
Yep.
And even at the Sharks, sometimes when he played that swing role where he'd swap. Who was he swapping with at the time?
Well, he started the year he left. He started on the wing,
yep,
and then he went to fullback towards the end of the year, and he had the most tries. He had the most line breaks, and the most tries for any fullback in the comp. But look at their on
paper, that's nice. Can you go down a little bit too, Loki?
Kyle Feldt's probably the most underrated winger in the competition, like outside of Daniel Tupu. That's a solid side. Cohen Hess, if he fires, he just needs to fire. It's been so many years. You got Tamalolo, Reece Robson's a gun coming through. He's a real gun. Francis Smart, like they've still got
big
the
fellas
side.
Missing for him. For Tamalolo to be playing. Isan Masters is another big one too. Isan Masters,
when he plays,
he looked really fit in the Māori game. I thought, and he looked in really good shape. I think when I watched that game last year, I just thought he looked a little bit underdone. Whereas this year, I thought he looked really good.
Well, the year in 2018, he was one of the best centers in the comp and had the most meters made. He made Phil Gould's team of the year at center. So he's a gun. He's just got to get his head right. But you look at that squad and that's not bad. It's not bad, especially if everyone fires. Like if Jason Tamalolo comes out as the best year of his career.
Who's the big front rower from Storm that used to play? Jordan McLean.
Yeah, McLean.
So he's out.
I think he's
That's
out.
why Tamalolo's in. So Tamalolo will come back to lock. He'll go on the start front row.
They're actually going to be playing Justin Tamalolo on less minutes now. So they're going to be...
I reckon that's a good thing.
I think and he's come out and said, it's good because now I can go harder. And I was like, how do you go harder, bro? Like, are you fucking serious? Fucking relax, bro. Again, biggest swing side in the competition, in my opinion, in the sense that like they could go fucking great.
Yeah,
it's Reece Robinson.
Mystery them.
Reece Robinson's like I'm pretty sure he made all the New South Wales sides coming through. Like he is like a next gun hooker, and then they've got where is he? Ruben Cotter. He killed it in the Indigenous All Stars game.
He was nice.
He was the best hooker on the field, in my opinion. And so they can make the 8. It's just a matter of whether they will.
All right, moving on to my boys.
The boys?
My boys for the Bird Gang boys. I think I turned a little bit like American at the end. Bird Gang boys. The Seagulls caught up with me, good mate Fozzie yesterday.
Do you want to? Do you want
to keep doing that and get the teams up as we go? That's nice. As we talk about as we go, because they're my boys. I'm gonna talk about my player that I think needs to have a really big year.
You see Desi's nut shot last night?
Yeah, that was grouse.
I don't know. You know what? I'm worried that it's actually just the grey in some pants underneath. But I was like, who designs pants like that?
No, it's a hole.
Yeah, sure.
It's a hole.
It's an alpha move. I think that's an alpha play.
That's from what I've been told. That's Desi all over. Rats.
You know how dominant you got to be
There it
to
is.
fucking
It's
not care.
That is rats. That is rats.
You know how alpha you got to be to not care whether you have a hole in your pants or not, and just take the photo. That's big balls.
My guy to spotlight for the Bird Gang is a guy that does more than enough for him already, but he's going to have to go up again purely for the fact that they've lost a middle who's contributed really well from last year, Adam Fanua-Blake. Jakey's got to step up big time, man.
Oh, it's going to be a big year for him. I feel like
it's going to be his brother's out for the first 6 weeks. Obviously, you know, you can obviously point to the halves; they're going to be important. But for me, Jakey Trbojevic, he has to go even to another level.
Well, I just think that they need to protect. He works too hard for himself. He shouldn't be. He is so good in attack that him making 50 tackles a game, like you don't want your fucking best attacking forward essentially making 50 tackles a game. So like somehow protect him and make him so he can bring more energy in attack, because like his attacking game was basically non-existent last year because all he was doing was just
gassed.
fucking
He looked
tackling.
so tired, mate.
100%.
And even in Origin, he looked tired and underdone. Like,
absolutely.
How many times would you have heard Jakey's like he thrived in the first 2 or 3 years of playing, even when they were losing. Like I think when he come on, he got the back end of that dominance. But like last year, mate, I was because I'm watching Jakey, playing with Jakey, I'm watching. I was like, he wasn't the same Jake. He looked very fatigued at the end of the year. So
totally agree.
But he also him and his brother went into the season with surgeries, both of them.
Okay.
So I think that might have played a part. And Jakey's been fully fit, done all the preseason and whatnot. So
I just think it was their style of play too. Like I just think that they weren't protecting him and like they weren't looking at it and going, we don't need Trbojevic to be making 50 tackles. Like let's get a guy that isn't a good attacker to make the 50 tackles, and we'll get Jakey to attack and be the connection between fullback and half. I think Taniela Paseka could be anything. Huge body, really came into form at the end of last year. He's going to need to be losing Adam Fanua-Blake. Moses Sully, he could be anything. He could be the best centre in the comp.
He's so damaging.
If he turns up and has like a red hot crack, he could put it this way: when he was playing, when they made the finals and they got 2019, they got knocked out because Jakey got sent off for pulling the jersey. He was like the best centre of finals footy.
He was. Ches gave him a bit of early ball, dropped him on a play, and he went straight through and played really well in that game. You know the best part about them two in particular? Now that Fozzie's come over and chat to him yesterday, he's going to be obviously in contention to play 6 for him. Now you've got Moses Sully, Brad Parker and Dill Walker all competing for the same spot, which is I think that's going to improve all three of them.
Because they were a bit light in the backs last season.
I like that. I told Fozzie I wasn't going to say anything. I like their option for fullback. It's obviously being Desi. Desi wants to keep all that shit. So, but I really like what they're going to do at fullback. So,
Josh Alloy is an important buy.
Yeah, I think he's really nice as well.
He was really good for the Tigers when they struggled so much. But mate, you lose Tommy Trbojevic, bro.
Yeah,
fuck. Like it's just such. When he's on, he is unbelievable. And I said it last year, and people were like, "What the fuck?" I really think that he needs a year not playing fullback. I really think you put him in the centre position, you put him in the 6th position, like stop him running so much. So like every time he's done his hammy has been on a kick return off a left foot step. Now I know this new hammy injury is a different hammy, but it's all about balance. Like he would never get up to that pace. Like as a centre, you very rarely get up to full pace and step. Whereas as a fullback, you're doing it all the time. Fatigue, boom, hammy goes. I just think that like, yes, he could be one of the greatest fullbacks of all time if he fucking gets his body sorted.
Yep.
But I just think put him in centre or number 6 and just get him just some reps. You know what I mean?
He's done a really good job at centre for New South Wales in the past. I think that makes a lot of sense as you're talking about it. And you're right. Those 20 or 30 metre runs that you do on kick returns that you don't get to do in any other position, you just eliminate that. Even on the wing, like obviously you're not going to put him on the wing, but you don't put him on the wing for that fact as well because they still do the kick returns.
Absolutely.
As well,
and I think also get him to drop weight. If I don't know shit about like physio and maybe I'm talking out my ass, but I always feel like sometimes hammies start going when you're getting too heavy. And he's such a fucking big boy. I just feel like, you know what, just make him as light as possible because he's still always going to be at least 95 kegs. You know, 90.
He's bigger than his brothers, and he's fucking Benny's in the back row, and Jakey's fucking front row.
Bro, he is massive. If you see him in real life, like he looks skinny on the field. You see him in real life, he's a big fucking boy, like thick. So I reckon lose weight, put him in the centres, just get some reps out, and then move him back to the fullback when you're sweet.
I have them making the 8.
You have them making the 8?
I have them making the 8. I know everyone's going to think that's a bit biased because I've got a really controversial one not making it.
Oh, here we go.
I've got a really controversial one making it. I've got to make in the 8. So, we'll see. Obviously, they're a team that come...
I think they'll miss
13th. They come 13th.
It all hinges on Tommy Trbojevic. If Tom Trbojevic is firing, they can fucking win the whole comp. They were my dark horses, and Tommy Trbojevic was my Dally M last year.
Yeah, we both were, actually. Yep. I actually put money on Tommy, and then they end up cancelling Daily M's because of something that happened betting-wise from the year before, so they just refunded it back. But grateful to get that money back.
Well, when he got injured, he was Dally M leader. Fucking torture. Anyway, hopefully, best wishes to Tommy, bro, because he's an incredible player.
I think this team, my roommate's in for a tough year. Not, obviously personally, I know he's doing all the right things, but I think his team's in for a tough year.
Yep.
Dragons, I don't have them making the 8, and they need to start like who were we talking about? Were we talking about the Broncos recruiting? Yeah, Broncos recruiting. I think they need to make a splash. They need a couple of big signings next year just to give them some confidence. They're going to need some real young players to step up.
Well, they made their big plays were Benny Hunt, Corey Norman, Widdop. That was their big plays when it comes to recruitment. You'd have to say probably hasn't paid off the way they thought it would pay off. Benny Hunt's on a huge contract, and just
same as Normie.
Same as Normie. It just hasn't seemed to work for whatever reason. Not saying it's their specific fault, but I'm just saying like clearly a change needs to be made. Look, I still think they got the side to make the 8. Like, if Ben Hunt clicks, if Normie clicks, like, fucking oath. Especially with Macca there, they all played 20s together. So they have a very strong connection. They've played heaps of footy together. So, like, if they can click, like, I think they definitely can. It's just a matter of, they got guys like Cody Ramsey, who's a gun coming through. Cody Ramsey,
Normie reckons he's put on a heap of weight and he's flying all over the field and he's everywhere, and Normie thinks he's in for an even bigger season.
Yep. Ravalawa, when he plays really well. Jaden Sullivan's a gun coming through. I mean, you've still got guys like Tarek Sims, Paul Vaughan. Lomax was fucking red hot last year. Yep. So, look, Jordan Pereira, he's probably one of the best scooters in the competition.
He's so consistent, man. Yep. Jordan Pereira, out of all that team, like, you know what you're going to get from Jordan Pereira every game when I'm watching those Dragons games. Man, I want Jack Bird to have a big season.
Same.
I just really want him to stay. Not even just kill it, just stay injury free and 100%. Just get those runs under his
20 games under his belt.
That'd be great. And I think he's gonna have to be an important player for him because he's their signing. He's their biggest signing. From the mail that I'm getting from Mudders is that he's going to be floating around in the middle, playing a bit of middle back row.
Well,
a bit of a roving role. It might even be that extra half off the bench sometimes. I think sort of vibe.
Well, I even think put him at fucking 13. Really, put him at 13.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going to be.
Okay. Yep. Sweet. And then you have Tarek as one wide running forward. You have Frizzell's a huge loss, bro.
Yeah, the back row. Yeah. Frizz leaves a big hole. Yep. So Paul Vaughan's going to have to step up. He's played Origin. You mentioned him. Yeah, look, their forwards, mate. That's where they've got to. Some of them, some of the more experienced guys have got to really step up. And then
Paul Vaughan had a great 2019.
Yep.
I think everyone was a bit quiet at the Dragons last season, unfortunately.
The West Tigers.
Yeah,
they're that team every year, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you've got Luke Brooks, who obviously, has all the potential. If Jimmy Roberts and Lua can, BJ Leilua can fire, like, fuck, they could be the best centre pairing in the competition. Nofaluma was one of the best wingers in the competition last year, was very unlucky not to make the squad. Look, I think Adam Dewey, 16, wow.
Interesting.
That's very interesting because he was supposed to be their starting 6.
That's Madge though, eh? Madge doesn't have a problem dropping any player at any time. So I don't know what he's doing. But I would have thought Adam Dewey would have been in my starting back line.
Yep.
Dane Laurie comes over from Penrith. Luke Brooks, this is his I've been a fan of Luke Brooks for a minute. Even when he come on, I thought they put too much pressure on him at the start.
Absolutely.
There are times that he got dropped last year, but Benji's gone. Robbie Farrow retired a couple of years ago. Baby Goat's gone back to Melbourne. Fucking that holiday's over. He's gone back to Melbourne, and he's gonna fucking have to start ripping in again. Yeah. But it's Brooks' team. There's no excuses now for him this year. The West Tigers live and die by Brooks this year.
Yeah, absolutely. If he doesn't fire, then it's going to be struggle street. It's just interesting. I don't know, like, what is that their starting side? I'm not sure. I think James Taumau is a really good buy for them. they really needed that experience in the middle. But I see them hovering around, that 10th mark, the 9th mark. I just think that they're still a few recruits away from really having an impact in the 8. But I could be wrong.
They're that team that beat teams that they shouldn't beat and then lose to the teams that they should beat.
Yeah, it's weird.
And that's why they always float at 9. And they're one of those teams. And we talked about, I think, Todd Payton naming his best team or the Cowboys or whatever. You can't get a read on Madge. Like Madge, depending on someone could have a bad training session on Thursday and fucking be out the next week with him. So
it's very very unique coaching style that Madge has.
The Warriors.
They can be fucking something special, I reckon. Yeah, I like.
They excite me, the Warriors.
I don't like Chanel got injured, unfortunately. He just recently did his hammy, Chanel Tavita Harris, pretty sure.
Did he? So how long is that? I love him. And we love the big boys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at their forward pack, and even Ewan Aiken. Like Ewan Aiken, he's fucking good center when he's on, especially when he's great ball carrier, gets through a ton of work usually, heaps of tackle breaks. Sean O'Sullivan is a solid buy as well, good for depth and could potentially go into it because he's still relatively young. Ken Mamalo, when he's on, is fucking unbelievable. Is Fusatua injured? He must be injured.
Must be injured, yeah.
But Ben Murdoch Masala.
Honestly, I know it's over in the Super League, but when he come back and played for Tonga, he killed it as well.
Yep.
He is really good. He's come on, like his engine has improved out of sight over there. He was playing big minutes a lot of the time. So if he's playing big, like if you're playing 60 to 80 in the Super League, he's good for 40 or 50 over here and like damaging minutes. So I think he's going to have a big year for him.
Bailey Serenin is an undercover good signing for them. He was fucking great for the Rabbitohs last year. Tohu Harris obviously won back row of the year last year or 13, I think. If they have that same connection they seemed to have last year, I see them making the 8 in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have him in, but I really wanted to put him in.
Okay.
I just couldn't find a spot for him. I went through my team, originally, and then I had to fucking scribble him out and take him out.
I might have to do that, but I think they'll scrape in the 8. I think they will. Might have to change it there.
We mentioned them at the top of the show, the Titans.
Yeah, I think they should make the 8, absolutely.
I think they're going to make the 8
as
well. Judging by how highly I spoke about them on your podcast, you can tell that I think they can go.
What about the picture? What about the background, though?
Thank you. I'm grateful for that, Lukey. Yeah, Ash Taylor's not looking the best. Poor Ashy Taylor. But I tell you what, he won't be looking like that this year, running off the back of Tino and old Dave Fafita.
The defenders will be looking like that. Look, I think
Brimo.
I think that if they don't make the 8, it'll be very disappointing. It'll just be like the issue is one of their halves get injured. I know they've got young. I forgot his name.
Tyrone Peachy can get in there, play a bit of 6 in a pinch.
Tanner Boyd came through as like the next big thing. He's a really solid half, so he might be able to do the job. But if they can stay injury free, Fogarty and Taylor, I think
that is an impressive forward pack. That
Mawiki
could be one of the
gun.
He ended up coming on last year and playing Origin, didn't he? He was part of the Origin team. He played in Origin 2. Did he play in Origin 2?
Played Origin 2. Yeah,
played Origin 2.
But look at that: Fafita, Proctor, Tino. Fuck, man, that's a great starting side. When
I was talking to Ice about this the other day, about how Justin Holbrook transformed the St Helens team. So people that don't know, St Helens were a really successful club. They had a couple of really bad years and were out of the 8 when they brought him in. And the way he did it, he transformed him in the front row. So we're talking about, me and Ice were talking about the halves in particular when we were watching Fogarty play the other day.
Yep.
He's just got two guys that played for them over there, Theo Farge and Johnny Lomax, are not big names. You probably wouldn't have heard of them, but they were just really good, direct ball running halves off the back of really good momentum and the forward pack getting them forward. So I think we're going to see just taking the pressure off Ash Taylor and Fogarty. You've seen a bit of that. Brimo's just going to be floating around the middle if anything sort of pops up.
If he stays injury free, bro, I can't wait to watch Brimo play.
Yep, and like we said the other day, he's going to be. We think we've got expectations of him putting on pressure on for KP for that number 1 spot at Queensland. He played for him last year. I think
Look, Brian Kelly, when he made his debut at the Seagulls, he was fucking unbelievable.
He was their best player last year. I think he got player of the year. He was really good last year.
Yeah,
Brian
he won
Kelly.
player of the year for the Titans. So people kind of sleep on Brian Kelly because he's at the Titans, he's a bit quiet, doesn't really get it, but he's a gun man. He's a really good player.
Well. Corey Thompson, I rate as well.
100%.
A really underrated.
He looked really fit on the weekend.
Same again, me and Ice were watching the game the other day. If he was just like a tad taller, like I already think he's a gun.
Yeah.
But he could be elite, bro. That's how highly I rate Corey Thompson, eh?
I totally agree.
Not many people talk about him.
Yeah.
He's so strong, man. He's
Gets
very
through
safe.
Heaps of scoots as well.
Heaps of energy. Makes fairly good reads.
Yep.
The only thing is, like, because of his height, sometimes people, bomb
kick
to him. But
I would love to get the stats on that. I feel like it's a bit of a myth. Like, if they're short, you just automatically think, they've had heaps of fucking kicks scored on them. But it's like, has anyone fucking actually looked at the data and been like, does a short winger like Corey Thompson actually have more kicks scored on him? Like, I don't know. Like, they just assume it's kind of the way it is. But I think he looked really fit in the All-Stars game too. Got through a ton of work. Mitch Rain, really safe, solid, good hooker. So
I think they could add in that position. I'd love to see one person in particular fucking go there.
Mate,
That'd be good for my bet. But
I tell you what, if Smith ever did go, like, could you imagine that team with Smith in it?
Well, this is what we talked about. I talked about this with Laurie Daly when he was on, and we'll talk because he loves his NFL. I compared it to Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For people that don't know, Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a really good team for a couple of years. They had a really good defense. They had really good strike weapons, but they didn't have a quarterback. Jameis Winston kept on throwing intercepts all the time. I'm not saying Mitch Rain's Jameis Winston, but when you had a class of that caliber, Super Bowl, baby.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine the folklore that it would happen? It would just be fucking amazing. I'm surprised Peachy interchat. Like, I mean, not really because of how good their side is, but you got Philip Sammy. I'm surprised that he didn't make he was one of their better players in 2019. Greg Marsaw, he scored a hat-trick in their trial. Really good, big centre. I think he broke their record for bench and stuff like that.
We get, like those, like you said, we like Brian Kelly, but a lot of those outside backs, they're not as proper as like probably Anthony Don. He's been around for a minute, and he'll probably get first crack out of all those guys. Spot. But all those guys got to fight for their position,
Absolutely.
so that's a good thing. Have a young kid coming through.
Absolutely good thing.
The Sharkies,
interesting side.
I don't have them making the 8.
Yeah, fuck, it's tough because they made it this year. Yeah, it just depends. Like if Townsend and Johnson can fire, then fucking oath. But it's
Sean Johnson. There we go. Little scoop from Ice in the background from the boss.
And we did his Achilles.
Yeah,
so I think Tracy
and Ice has done his Achilles before. From what it's
fucked, especially at that age. And you've got Tracy. Where is he? He's nice. Apparently, he's been training a lot at fullback, which is interesting. Why Will Kennedy? You got fucking McGulius, Connor Tracy.
Yes, I've been waiting for that. I was hoping he's in the starting 13.
You got Connor Tracy. Who
Can you give us another one, please? Though?
McGulius.
Thank you. Grateful.
Connor Tracy, apparently he's been training at fullback. You got Tigwood. So they've got options. Blake Brayley, I think he's going to take another step this year. I mean, Matty Moylan, if he can stay fit, fuck, he's some of the silkiest ball playing you've ever seen in your life.
Well, biased again because we hang out with Moiser all the time, but he's been working around the clock. He's been working with Benny Roberts, and he's been working. I don't know if you've heard of the knees over toes guy.
No.
And he's basically a guy that works on strength around the bottom half of his body.
Yep.
So he's not only been training with Cronulla, he's been going off campus and getting extra training to try fix his hammies, and he hasn't had a mishap the whole preseason.
Really, I mean that's
that's massive for him.
Yep.
That shows the amount of work that he's been putting. He's really sort of focused in. Him and both Normie know that it's big seasons for them.
Yep.
But you're hanging out with those two all the time. So
I mean, fuck, you look at their side like Aaron Woods, Britton Akora is one of the best fucking line runners there is for youngs to come.
Played
through.
really nice, really underrated player on the weekend.
Wade
he just
Graham.
does his job really, and he had a good combination with Benji because we thought that playing with Shawnee that they're pretty similar. In
absolutely.
Put that on silent. What's it doing? Family's calling me. What's happening? Something. Oh, that's all right. My A grade footy's been cancelled this year, Simi, so we're not playing. Yeah. We'll play for Caringbah. There we go. That's Scoop. Scope's going to be playing for Caringbah this year. You're in for a treat, boys. Continue. We're talking about
no, that's all good.
I could end up making Cronulla, I reckon, from Caringbah.
Yeah, there's a potential for it. Look, they got the squad. Like Metcalf's a gun coming through. If Matty Moylan and Townsend and Johnson can be on the field at one time throughout the year, they can make a push towards the 8, absolutely. And if, Wade Graham, if he fires, fucking unbelievable player. So they might scrape in the 8.
Yep. They're obviously, because I've got to try and make room for a couple of teams outside of the 8. There's always teams that drop out. There's always teams that come in. And for me, like when I was looking at the rest of the top 8, I had one, this one I thought was people could understand it, and then obviously a controversial one coming down the line. The Knights.
Yeah.
The Knights. Blake Green for me is massive.
Yeah, he is.
Same thing, I've known Greeny for a minute.
Yep.
I know of how highly Cherry spoke about him at his time at Manly for the couple of seasons that they spent together. I've always thought that, Pearcey has done his best work when he's had someone solid. Had Braith back in the day when they went on their run. A real senior figure to take
Maloney
over and
when they won the premiership.
Take a bit of pressure off him. Jimmy Maloney was there. Guys that experience and know how to get around a park where he doesn't feel like he has to do anything. I'm not saying I don't want to talk bad about anyone that was there in the past, but he's had a few young kids that he's been trying to groom. I don't think that's Pearcey's thing. And I was speaking to KP about it in the off season. I think they're going to get back to running that nice short side again. KP got away from playing it last year, where he gets down a short side 4-4, kicks on A, and tries to find the centre and back row inside outside. I think that was his best strike weapon. For whatever reason, they got away from it last year. So
Connor Watson at 13 is going to be really interesting because he's just, you got to have him in the starting side, in my opinion. I think he's a fucking gun, to be honest. Very underrated. Jaden Brayley also, they got the squad, man. They should definitely make the 8, especially with Frizzell coming. He is going to add so much strike power as a wide running forward for them, where they have got good wide running forwards, but they got guys that get through a bunch of work and that, whereas Frizzell is a real fucking high
game
quality.
changer.
Yeah, high quality. So
he can break one off from 40 and take it to the house.
100%, absolutely. Got the fucking worst boots in history. Does he Google shit boots and then buys them on eBay? What the fuck's going on?
I haven't noticed his boots before. Are they that bad?
They're just black shit boots. Come on, bro.
Fuck, that's a mad trial, that. I wouldn't mind watching that trial.
Sexual Textual.
Sexy Texy. I like Sexy Texy. Got to meet him. He's
a
cool
bit different.
Yeah.
Inari Tuala is also, I thought he was really good last year. Toa is a gun, absolute gun. Bradman Best is
Best
fucking
is
beast.
Disgusting. He's
fucking... Mate, he's a crowd favourite that kind of bring the crowds back because he's just a fucking violent man.
He always just looks angry too. He was hanging out and he's angry. I was like,
Absolutely.
"What's up, man? Did I do something? Have I said something there?" I've been praising you.
You got the money man in the Storm side there, baby. I think they should make the 8. If they don't make the 8, it's absolutely a disappointing year.
Yep, I've got to make in the 8. I think they're going to be right on the edge though, because I've got a few other teams above them. I think it's going to be a really competitive year for a couple other teams. I think they're going to float in the same spot. They end up finishing 7th last year. I think they're around that 6 to 8 mark again.
Yep.
The Rabbitohs and Latrell.
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely should be top 4, top 3, really. Anything worse than top 4 this year is fucking bad.
I agree.
They've got the squad, they've got the coach. It's his last year. Trell looked fucking good on the weekend. I thought he looked really good on the weekend. Arrow coming is a massive get. Arrow was at the Titans grinding his dick off when they were fucking coming last and that. So him in a good side to release him to do what he needs to do, mate, I think it's going to be fucking really.
That was such a big deal at the start of the year, and for whatever reason, as the year went on, it just wasn't really spoken about too much about how much he's going to add, or even this year going into this season. But he's a renowned Origin player now.
It's a gun. There was a period there where in a losing side, I think against the Sharks, in 2019 or whatever, he had 277 metres, 30 tackles, no misses. Put him in a side that's going to let him do what he needs to do and not just grind constantly. I think he's going to be fucking great. Junior Totola has just gone from strength to strength. Cam Murray, obviously gun. I think Jacob Host could be under the radar, one of the signings of the year.
I like Jacob Host, man. Considering obviously the Dragons losing Frizz and then somehow letting...
He's a big body, good hole runner, very hard to shine in that Dragon side because it was struggling so much. I really think that Jacob Host, with Wayne Bennett, the fucking master, I think he could be smoky for signing of the year.
I'm looking. Yeah,
Tautau Moga, he was a gun at the Broncos when he come through, big fucking body. So they got so much. They got everything they need. Maybe the only depth they don't have is potentially, if they lose a big body like Thomas Burge. Burgess is so important for them. If they lose a big body like him, it can really hurt them because he's just so important to their go forward.
Geez, that forward pack played good at the end of the year, and then you throw in, like I said, Jacob Host and Dry Arrow.
Oh, mate.
And then Latrell, so we talked about it on your podcast. You chuck Latrell and Dry Arrow into that team that just lost to Penrith, and does the result change? Because then also
look at their backline, bro.
Jimmy Tamo as
Because
well.
Jackson Paulo, I'm assuming Mansour will start. Maybe he won't, but let's say he does. You got Latrell, Mansour, Gagai, Campbell Graham. Like, he got injured. He probably would have made the Origin squad. And Alex Johnson, Cody Walker, Adam Reynolds. Like, that's a fucking gun backline.
From top to bottom, looking at that, that's probably the most impressive lineup.
Yeah, well, Roosters are pretty hectic. And Storm, fucking Schnackenhusen.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Addo Carr, Munster,
Maybe we
Hughes.
haven't got to them yet.
Yeah, we haven't got to them
I
yet.
haven't had to go have a look.
That back line is as good as any back line in the NRL. Easy.
Yeah.
So Jackson Paulo, he may have got the jump on Mansour. I'm not sure. Maybe
Same again, competition, mate. Like some of these teams that we worry about that there's not as much depth. So if you...
But a real lacking in Rabbitohs back, not a lacking, but in Rabbitohs backline, they really only had Dane Gagai that was doing all the fucking hit ups and that. If you bring Mansour in, he's going to just chew through meters for them. So I think he's a great addition. Hamo Saleh, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but he's fucking really good.
Yeah.
Obviously Benjamin Marshall. So yeah, I think anything less than top 4 is a massive disappointment, and they should be one of the favourites to win the comp.
Yeah, that Hame Saleh, he trains at Reborn Fitness with the gym that I train at in the off season. He's got a really good engine, man.
Really
good
all
engine.
day?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching him. But I didn't really know too much about him before he started training at the gym and seeing his engine. I'm looking forward to watching him play this year. The Raiders, Josh Hodgson's back.
Yeah, I think they're going to be there or thereabouts. Absolutely. I think like last year, they came up against the Red Hots. Like their last game of the year, it really hurt them because everyone sees them getting pumped by the Storm and be like, oh yeah, they're not contenders. Storm went out and pumped Penrith in that first half. You know what I mean? So like people forget the level the Storm was on coming into that grand final was so high that even like Penrith were lucky to get back into that game. But in reality, Storm pumped Penrith in the grand final, just like they pumped the Raiders. So I think that people are a bit misinformed with the Raiders in the sense that like they look at that last game.
It leaves a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, really. But
they're missing Hodgson.
You're putting it less down to what Canberra did and more what Melbourne were just
how
fucking
good
doing
Melbourne
to everyone.
were. Absolutely. You got Munster prime. You got Cameron Smith, Dally M. Hooker fucking leading the boys around. Jerome Hughes playing career best form. You got Addo Carr, Vunivalu, Pappenhuisen, Schnackenhuisen wins the Clive Churchill. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just fucking, Bromwich brothers. You got Cheese, you got Big Tino coming off the bench.
Okay, they've got a better lineup. You talk me out of it.
So I think Raiders.
We're on to the Raiders now, too, Lukey, please.
Top 5, I'd say. Top 5, top 6. But they could go all the way top 2. I don't think they'll be number 1. Like as in they might win the grand final, but I'm talking finishing.
Yeah, I feel like they can win the grand final from one of the teams because I don't have them in the top 4. One of the teams can definitely. It's so hard to win it from outside of the top 4, but they pushed there last year. I think did they finish 5th? Yeah, they must have finished 5th because they're not there. And yeah, they're definitely a team that you don't want to play.
No way, absolutely not. I said it before Origin. Any team with Papali in it is a fucking problem.
Yeah,
because he is just fucking he's a joke. He's one of the greatest fucking front rowers ever to play the game, in my opinion.
Joseph Tarpany had a really nice
absolute gun. He's a snack too. Good sort.
Well, this is someone messaged me and said, put some respect on Joseph Tarpany. He's like Tino is a baby Joseph Tarpany.
So got a lot of similarities. He's a mixture between Ricky and Tino.
Yeah.
He's like...
You can't go wrong with that.
Oh, no way. No fucking way.
So, yeah, I'm a big fan. I had the Raiders to beat the Roosters last year when they beat them, and when Joe Tarpany went over and I was in Byron. Jeez, I was excited. But, yeah, Raiders come back, mate. Hodgson comes back in. That Starling did a nice job in cover for him, so that's nice to know that you've got that option.
You got Havali as well.
Because I think we're both in agreement. You're going to need another hooker or a half or someone that can ask a few questions off the bench. That Havili is so versatile. He can play middle back row and he can play front row for him.
Absolutely.
He's a bit like the Cheese in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they've got some really nice 17 to 19, and then I've got outside of that losing. Johnny boy, he's going to be a big loss, man. Like Johnny. People forget last year when they dropped a few games when Hodgson lost and they were starting to look a little bit shaky, and then Johnny Boy come back and he just changed them all. Cowboys game, I remember the exact game. He come on, he had a nice little plays, went down the short side. I think Curtis Scott went down and they scored a try. So,
well, I think Hudson Young needs to really step up, and Corey Harawira-Naera.
Yep.
If they both step up, then they can not replace because obviously it's fucking Johnny, but that will be their strike. Because people forget Corey Harawira-Naera the year before was Bulldogs' best player by a fucking mile. So yeah, look, I think they're going to be there or thereabouts. Absolutely.
The Roosters.
Ryan James, good recruitment. Sorry, Ryan.
Oh,
James,
really nice. Did he go last year and do his ACL at the start of the year? He was there last year, wasn't he?
I don't think he was there last year. I think he did his ACL just as he signed.
Oh, okay.
Something along those lines.
No, I think we could be wrong, but I think he went there last year and it was. I thought that was going to be a real nice signing for him last year, and he might have done his ACL just at the start of the year. So.
I think Chan's in for a big year.
Chansey.
A little interesting.
He did a couple of little geeses.
I love a fucking
He did a couple of geeses when I thought he could have just hands would do it.
Nah, fuck that.
No, you
got a goosey. Chan's actually had statistically better season 2020 than he did in 19, but because we didn't talk about him
so
much,
used to it. Yeah. Like it's one of those things because he was a rookie year.
But also it's the power of the media. It's whoever they grab onto and say is playing really well, everyone else says plays really well. But you know, Chan's that first year, everyone's fucking, Chan's this, Chan's that. He statistically actually had a better second year. So.
And you know what? He did the Hucker of Doom too.
Yeah, Hucker of Doom.
He gave me fucking goosebumps doing the Hucker when he broke off into his side.
Fucking oath.
He's a very likable, nice looking guy. And when he did that Hucker, I was like, ooh. Goosey's a Doom.
Goosey's a Doom, 100%.
The Roosters.
Yeah, I mean, initially I was a bit like, they look a bit tired. But recently, after seeing the intensity they're coming at.
Kids, I think they're going to be massive.
2 snacks too, just quietly.
Up and coming snacks.
Up and coming snacks, absolutely. Look at that. Like, talk about like just beauty no matter what culture you are. You know what I mean?
Look at that. Wow.
Snack white fella, snack Polynesian boy. Just fucking beautiful.
I don't have the Roosters making the top 8.
The top 8? Nah, you're crazy. That's fucking mental.
Hey, this could be one of those things you look at me and everyone's going to go, fuck you, Scope. You don't know nothing. But I'm going to...
Wow.
I had to find... There's always that one team where everyone's like, Manly finished 3rd or 4th the year before and everyone thought they were going to be back there. They finished 13th. They're my Manly. They're my Manly this year. The person that I put down that's...
You're telling me that roster isn't going to make the 8?
Hear me out.
I'm ready. Speak to me. I'm open.
You yourself last year talked about the impact that Latrell and Cooper were going to have on the Roosters and how you thought they looked a bit tired. Throw into that, they're still unsure of who they're going to have. I believe it's Lachlan Lamb coming in and playing half. I'm putting them out of the 8 for the pure respect I've got for Boydie Cordner as well. So you add on to what they lost with Cooper and Latrell the year before. They looked very shaky at the start of the year when Boydie missed. Boydie come back and they become a different team and he's their captain. So for me, I think this is probably outside of, for me, in the last, you've got Wayne Bennett and Bellamy that are locks. Trent Robinson's one of the best coaches that I've seen, but he's I think he's in for a big season with them. Are we running over, are we, boys? We've probably got about 15 minutes left. Sweet. Hey, lads. Yeah, I think Trent Robinson, this is going to be a really big coaching opportunity for, obviously those players are experienced. You've got the Morris boys, like the squad speaks for itself, but I think if there's a chance for him to slip up, this could be the year.
Yeah,
and I was looking for one coach for it.
We can look back at this as I will be the dickhead or you'll be the dickhead.
I'm going to be the dickhead. Like it's the Roosters.
Think you are absolutely insane, but I tell you what, if I'm wrong, we don't have to. If I'm wrong, I'll give you $100
for the dickhead of doom.
So because it's such a risky play, you don't have to pay me because it's a risky call.
Okay.
But because it's such a sure thing, I'll give you $100. If they don't make the 8, I'll give you $100 a case of beer.
I can't believe I'm going against the Roosters.
Because they absolutely, in my opinion, will make the 8.
I'm hoping Sam Walker lives up to the hype that they've talked about. And
Trent Robinson, he is in Craig Bellamy territory right now. He has built a culture there.
I agree.
Where every year we say about the Storm, look a bit tired, look a bit fatigued, didn't make the grand final, and then the next year they come back and they fuck ya. And that's exactly what's going to happen with the Roosters. He is in Craig. He's in Craig Bellamy. He has the systems. He has the belief. They all buy into it. He's got all the strike power they need. He's got everything you need in that team to win a premiership. So for them to not make the 8 would be one of the most shocking outcomes of an NRL season I've ever seen. More shocking than Broncos coming last, because Broncos had a bad year before. If they don't make the 8,
I
halfway
agree
through
with
the
that.
year last year, they were pumping teams. Radley gets injured and everything changes. Radley's going to be back soon. He's ready to fucking rumble. Kiri is coming to his own. He's one of the best sixes of the generation. Lachlan Lamb or whoever needs to go there, just needs to fucking do his job. That's it. Tackle, kick the ball, whatever. So Flanagan obviously got moved on. Even with Flanagan there, they were pumping teams. Mid-year when they came back from the break, they looked better then than when they won the back-to-back premierships. They've got James Tedesco, who's obviously a gun. They've got unbelievable depth. When Tupu or Morris brothers move on, they've just signed one of the best Fiji talents currently between rugby union and rugby league. They've got Sam Walker coming through for more depth. Freddie Lussick coming through. They've got Joseph Sawali coming through.
I love Joseph, but he's not going to be ready. If he was ready,
they're the same as the Storm. It's like saying the Storm aren't going to make the 8.
No, but this is like if I knew Joseph Sawali would play this year, I'm not even joking. This is how much of a rap I have on that kid. Like they go all the way back into the top 4, and potentially playing in the grand final. Like that's how highly I think of him. I know,
saying they won't make the 8 is the same as saying the Storm won't make the 8. That's the territory they're in right now. Since 2013, since Robbo took over, they've won the premiership.
I'm going to look like a genius when this comes out.
100%. You know what? If this comes, this is a huge play. It'd be one of the greatest plays of all time by you. You know what? You'll go down in punting history. If this pulls off and someone backs it back, you'll be the greatest punter in Australian history.
I am going to get sprayed on social media for this.
But, bro,
don't clip this. I don't want to clip it. So they've got to watch it to see how much they have.
He's already scared. He's already scared. He doesn't want to back it. He doesn't want to back it.
I'm not confident. I was looking for a shock value. You know what I mean?
It's okay, but this is Robbo's run since he came out. 2013 wins the comp. 2013 he's won 3 minor premierships. He's won 3 premierships. This is a guy that had one bad year in 2016 when Mitchell Pearce drama happened. Outside of that, he has been in the top 4 or winning a premiership or minor premiership in any of those years. They don't go from unless there's a huge drama, they don't go fucking outside the top 8. No way. But if you do, I will happily shake your hand and say, Scope, you are the GOAT of punters.
I appreciate that. There's a couple other teams that I obviously could have put out. But I'm going for a bit of shock value. I'm going for that. I'm throwing that dart. I'm going for the bullseye. I'm going for the bullseye.
Content's content, baby.
I'm not going for triple 20.
Nah. Hey, sometimes this is a chip and chase. This is chip and chase in your own half.
All right. The Eels. Parramatta Eels.
I think they'll be top 6. I think it just all hinges on Mitchell Moses and Mitchell Moses staying injury free and the training he gets by Joey. As long as Joey can stay with him all year, I think that they should be absolutely a top 5, 6 side. The key for the Eels are, obviously they have to make the 8. All that matters for the Eels this year is how do they play in finals footy. That's all that matters in my opinion. Not where they come at the end of the year, because they definitely should make the 8. If they don't make the 8, that's insanity. It's what do they do in the big game in the final series. If they can just get rid of the struggling, I guess, trend that they seem to struggle in finals footy, that will go a long way to them. We have to remember, yes, they struggled at the end of last year. They came fucking 3rd. People are so quick to just go, they had a few bad games at the end of the year. I get it.
Yeah, but
they came 3rd.
But this is what I remember. I put the line through them when they got beaten 38-0. I said they couldn't win the comp from that point. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks to go, and that was that ugly of a performance. And I think that same thing. It's like the Raiders thing losing to Storm in that last game where they sort of got smacked. But sometimes that's hard to get that out of your mind.
Yep.
And even as players, how do they make such big of improvement on a team like Rabbitohs, who I think have improved and got better? How do they make up that
forward
gap?
pack compared to Rabbitohs forward pack?
Yeah, Brycey Cartwright's going to be a nice little pickup for him as well.
That
coming off the pine.
That forward pack is probably the best forward pack in the game right now, outside of maybe Roosters. And not the best, it's one of the best. It's top 3, 4. You look at Junior Paulo, who is one of the best front rowers in the game,
and can throw him.
Can throw them as well, knocks blokes out. So that's that's another factor that, I know it's a small thing, but that enforcer factor, it fucking matters in the middle. Yep. Nathan Brown, obviously a gun. Ryan Madison, gun. Sean Lane, Regan Kamagilla, they've got.
I like the combination between the front rowers. They're they're the odd couple, which work really well. Absolutely.
So I think, even Nakora, he was a gun. Murata Nakora. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I think that they absolutely
a nice team.
Have the side. I think they'll miss Jennings. He's very important experience wise.
Yep.
If you get Blake Ferguson red hot, he can do anything. You got Sivo as well. Like look at their back line. You got Gutho who won fullback of the year. You got Sivo and Fergo. Like those two guys when they can be the two best wingers in the comp when they're playing their best footy. Not saying they will be. I'm just saying they can. Wanga Blake sorts his defence out. He can be one of the better centres.
Both defensively on the edges, they got found out a little bit last year. They were struggling for confidence. I don't think it doesn't come down to talent for them. It comes down to confidence. And
they need to sort their systems out.
Yeah.
Whether they're an up and in fucking team or an up and slide team.
It's weird because I know like how to the book BA is as well. So to see them go through those struggles, I don't know if it would have been something that they would have addressed in the off season. So I'm interested to see how they go in the first 4 or 5 weeks to see how much improvement. No, they're not.
Okay, so they're top 8 though.
They're top 8.
Okay.
Yeah. The Storm. The Panthers because they were second. Let's go to the Panthers. You got the Storm. You want to just?
Now this is also for me one of the biggest swing teams due to their youth.
Agree.
Due to their youth,
I agree.
It could be a disastrous year for Penrith Panthers. Every team is going to be frothing at the bit to dominate these guys. These are the young upstarts, came out of last year, embarrassed everyone, but this is a team with an average age of 24 that came out and ussed everyone.
They danced on people. They fucking talked shit to them while they were on the ground.
100%.
People got these young kids, man. It's the reason I love them, and it's a reason why I think that can bring them on down. So I'm the same as you. I was sort of thinking about a few other teams putting in the top 4 and potentially leaving them out, but...
you know what? I'm going to say this. I'm going to leave them out of my top 4.
Okay. So that's a big one.
Look, don't get me wrong. I love the Panthers. I love the youth. I love what they do off the field. I love the whole vibe. And I love, what Nathan Cleary managed to do last year was absolutely fucking incredible. But I think that they have one of the biggest targets on their backs I've ever seen in footy.
I reckon they've got more of a target than the Storm.
Absolutely. Because they're the young upstart. Like, no experienced campaigner wants to sit there while they got ussed by a team and then watch fucking, blokes rocking up in shades, fucking, doing all that kind of stuff. But again,
that's a vibe too, bro. When you watch
let me be real clear. I fucking love that shit.
Yeah.
I love that shit. I fucking love the Panthers. I think that if they do go on to go really well this year, we've seen the birth of a dynasty.
Yeah.
In my opinion. If they go on to go really well this year again, it's the birth of a dynasty. Their biggest issue isn't their roster. It isn't their playing ability. Their biggest issue is the target on their back this year going into 2021. I think they absolutely have the squad, absolutely have the vibe, absolutely have it. I want them to kill it because I think the game is going to be so fucking good with them killing it.
When they were killing last year, like
so
they were
fun.
a vibe. Even this year going into the off season, the boys fucking got the
so
speaker box and all that in there,
so
and
good.
dancing going through the city.
Yeah,
they're a fun team to watch.
Api Coruscant, probably one of the most underappreciated fucking hookers in the game when it comes to he was a big. When I said Api Coruscant was the signing of the year before last year, because I said Nathan Cleary needs a solid 9 to release him, because before Api Coruscant, the last hooker they had was Peter Wallace. Peter Wallace wasn't even a hooker, he was a halfback, and so they hadn't had a hooker in so long. I think he was so crucial to Cleary having the year that he had, but I think that the target is so massive on their back right now.
They're ticking the boxes too. They're signing. Re-signing some of these young kids to long-term contracts.
Fisher Harris looked fucking fantastic in the Indigenous All-Stars.
Probably for me, he's in the top 2 or 3 middles in the game.
Yeah,
at the
absolutely,
moment, James
absolutely,
Fisher-Harris.
no doubt. It's
probably,
and
his mate in the middle doesn't go too bad as well as a
Oh my god, so good.
The Storm, the champs.
Yeah, I mean it's a Storm.
It's a Storm.
Absolutely top 4, but I do think losing Cameron Smith there's going to be an effect. I don't know what it's going to be because every year we say it but this is the final person of the big 3 gone. This is the new era for the Storm. The problem is it's most likely Craig Bellamy's last year. So if there's any motivation to go back to back, Craig Bellamy's most likely leaving the club at the end of this year.
And we'll have no idea all the way until after the season.
Yeah, pretty much.
If he's left.
Pretty much. So
it's a big one for me too, Vunivalu.
Yeah, he was huge.
He's massive.
Dean. Okay, who's Dean? I haven't heard it. Dean Iram before.
Remus Smith is nice little pickup.
He'll probably go to the best fucking centre in the game because it's Bellamy. He just does it every single time. Look, I think absolutely they'll still be there. it's just going to be super interesting. How do they deal with the final piece of the puzzle? It's almost a bit sad because, Smith retires from the Storm. Craig Bellamy's going to leave. The next few years for the Storm, we could see a dynasty fall. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying Craig Bellamy,
it's a
Cameron
possibility.
Smith,
It's a possibility.
Craig Bellamy, yes, they've got all the systems in place, but the old guard is officially gone. When Craig Bellamy moves on, the old guard is gone, and it's a whole new fucking world. The pressure on that next coach, holy fuck.
Yeah, that's massive, mate.
So
when you think about the Melbourne Storm, I don't care what age you are, if you're 5 years old and you can understand rugby league to 35, 40 or above, you think of Craig Bellamy, Cameron Smith, Billy Slater and Cooper Cronk.
Absolutely. And Greg Inglis to an extent.
GI was almost like a good 5 year period there, but he went so well at the Rabbitohs and changed that culture.
Yeah, so true.
So you just more think of the other three. But
the scary thing is that you got the Schnackenhusen, you got Cameron Munster, and you got Hazard Grant with the cheese. Like, that's another big three potentially. Easily. Like, Schnackenhusen's winning Clive Churchill's. I don't know if Billy Slater had won a Clive Churchill by the time he was Schnackenhusen. I think Schnackenhusen's like 22.
Oh yeah, so he did eventually win a Clive Churchill?
He probably did, but what I'm saying is like, he's on the trajectory to have the same trajectory as,
I agree.
Because even early in Billy Slater's career, he wasn't the starting fullback for Queensland or Australia. Carmichael Hunt was. So Schnackenhusen, Munster, Harry Grant, and the cheese, that can be the big four.
I think,
can be the big four.
And obviously Pappy puts it down to having Billy Slater, but I think Pappenhausen is way more developed at this point of his career than what Billy was.
I think Billy would say that too.
Everyone thinks about how good Billy was at the start of his career, but he was more of he's floating around on the wing and played fullback, and he probably wasn't the best ball player, but like his attention to detail and how hard he works, he ended up becoming elite at it.
So 2009 is when he won it. Yeah. So he would have been about 24, 25. Anyway, so they're basically on the same trajectory, but also like there is not a fucking person alive early in Billy Slater's career where they would have said he's going to be the greatest fullback of all time. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. That's not saying he played bad. What I'm saying is it's not like he came out the gates and was just like Greg Inglis, Israel Folau. Like, he wasn't that. He worked towards it. So I think Pappenhuisen can go on to be great. Munster.
They had Izzy and GI during that time too.
Crazy.
Say that when you just like put that out there.
I think like one of my first games was against Izzy.
Yuck. How'd that
Crazy.
go? You go right?
He scored a catch over me, but it went all
Corey
right.
Thompson, see the height. I'm going back to the
Bro,
height.
I'm not that short. Bro, what's doing?
No, that's easy. Fucking next level. All right, mate. Let's Storm's easy. You can talk about Storm. Everyone knows about the Storm. So let's wrap it up. Top four.
Top four is going to be Melbourne Storm,
Tick for me.
Rabbitohs,
Tick for me.
Roosters.
Obviously not.
Yeah.
If the Roosters don't make the top six, is that still like if they're 7 and 8?
You can't start
if they're
bringing it
7,
back in.
all right, go.
It's all upside for you. You're the one that wins.
Yeah,
You don't play
play
anything.
on.
And I am gonna say number 4 is I'm gonna be a bit controversial here. No, I'll play it safe. Number 4 is the Raiders.
Raiders. All right, so we agree on the Storm and Rabbitohs. I've got the Panthers staying in there, and I've got the Titans. So I've even broken it down. I've got Storm winning the comp, Rabbitohs second, Panthers third, Titans fourth. Storm play Titans, beat Storm to go into the grand final. Rabbitohs beat Panthers this time to go into the grand final against the Storm, and I've got the Storm winning it.
Yeah, I mean, my top 4 isn't set in stone though. Like, I'm pretty.
Yep.
I know for a fact that not for a fact. Rabbitohs and Storm are my 2. Like, they're going to be in there.
Yep. Well, that's good. That's my
mean?
grand final
Yeah,
then.
I
So
think-
happy with that.
But I mean, that's a pretty safe bet. That's a pretty safe bet. Like,
Yeah, there's no like.
But I'm not locked into a top 4 really. I want to see. I just need to see a bit of footy.
Dally
Dally M.
who'd you pick for winner though?
The winner of the
Of the
comp. I'll just go Rabbitohs. Dally M. Victor Radley.
Ooh, see, there's a smoky.
Yeah, fucking oath.
Victor Radley. Come on, baby.
Cameron Munster, you reckon?
I had him on for Skipper and the Prez, the second or third episode, and I said, what's left there for you to do, Prez? Obviously, what he's gone through. Won a couple of comps now.
The only problem is Papenhuisen's going to steal so many points from
But that's always been the case, and they've still managed to win it. This is the
Yeah,
point I brought up
that's
to him.
true.
He goes, it's hard because we've got so many good players. That said, Cam still won it. Cooper still won it. And did Billy win one as well? Dally M? Coop won it a couple of times. Cam won it a couple of times.
When you look at the Storms, the
helps
way
when they're
they
winning
play,
games.
they spread their like try assists are really spread across their thing. Whereas when you look at like the Roosters, they're very like, they're going to Tedesco or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's why Radley.
But you got Radley, you got Keary, you got Tedesco,
Radley,
Joey Mano.
Radley's hype is here. He's next. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's why I think like.
You're all in on Radley, eh?
Well, I just think that hype matters in Dally M. It matters because everyone's looking at him and everyone's talking about him and the fucking commentators of this and that. I mean, Brad Fittler's already said that he's primed to play Origin.
Yeah.
So I just think that Radley's me smoky for Dally M, and I think that
I wonder what they would be paying if they even had odds. No, they don't have odds for it anymore. I don't think they do it.
Papenhuisen's number 2 for Dally M.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'm on the. We'll see how these go out. We'll put a bit of a list out. You don't have a top 4 in order. We'll clarify that. But you've got Rabbitohs winning it, and you've got Radley.
Yeah,
and then
don't put a
we'll
list out because I'll get absolutely punished.
Oh,
I'm not set
just,
on my
just
top 4.
Set this for maybe the end of the year. Something that we'll be able to look back on and have a look later.
Yeah, but I'm definitely not set on my top 4.
Thanks.
But I think Rabbitohs going to win it.
Thanks for coming on, brother.
Boom.